Now, all right, Melina, take us away.
Hello. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Melina Iglesias with the City of San Jose's Office of Cultural Affairs, and I have the pleasure of leading the team that supports San Jose's outdoor special events and public life activations. And we're excited to connect with you as part of this outreach effort today. I am joined by Zach Mendes, our public life and senior events manager, who's leading this body of work for our team and will walk us through the proposal and what's ahead. And then we're also joined by Martina Davis, our division manager from the planning department, who's been a key partner in shaping this effort in alignment with all of the other ordinance work that we're doing. So thank you so much. I'm just going to quickly run through what we're expecting for the day, and then I'll pass it over to Zach to kind of get into the details of this full body of work that we're proposing for you today. So we're here to share the proposed updates to the city's ordinance for temporary outdoor events on private property. Again, temporary outdoor events. The goal is to make it easier for organizers to host permitted events in vibrant community events. Especially, this work was related to a response from the growing interest of stakeholders in things like night markets, for example, cultural gatherings, and neighborhood festivals. We've heard clearly from many of you and our stakeholders that the current process can be a bit restrictive and difficult to maneuver through. And so this is an opportunity to kind of create more flexibility and support paths forward with this work. These updates are intended to help foster the types of events that bring people together, activate underused spaces, and enhance the cultural and economic vitality of our neighborhoods. So with that, I'm pleased to pass it over to Zach Mendes, again, our public life and senior events manager, who's leading this work for our team and will walk us through all the details. So it's going to be a little bit of a kind of a team panel. So while Zach's leading the heart of the presentation, Martina and I might jump in and just add some notes, or we'll respond to any questions in the chat. Also, as Zach mentioned in the opening, we are recording this presentation, so you can also find that online afterwards. It'll be probably on the planning department's website and also on a YouTube channel. So we'll provide those updates afterwards. With that, Zach, please take us away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Melina. All right, everybody. We are excited to be discussing this with you today. I think we're going to be making some exciting changes that hopefully really enhance the ability to activate some of our public spaces. But before we kind of jump into what those changes are, for those who are not familiar, we just wanted to give a little bit of a background into our permitting process and our policy update process. So as a reminder, most of you are event organizers, but we do maybe have some stakeholders here from throughout the community. So just to kind of get everybody on the same page, when it comes to permitting temporary special events on private property, oh, temporary special events on private property, the process is pretty straightforward for the most part. There is a special event application that is submitted to the Office of Economic Development and Cultural Affairs. That once that application is submitted to the Office of Economic and Development and Cultural Affairs, our team, the special events team, will review that application and ensure that it conforms with San Jose. I don't know why that keeps doing that. Sorry, everybody. With conforms with the San Jose Municipal Code requirements that currently exist. If the event does conform, OEDCA will continue the process and help folks who are applying, facilitate their planning process and eventually end up with issuance of an event authorization, which allows you to move forwards with your event. We recognize that the current situation with our municipal code does present some challenges. The code places limitations on the amount of event days, the durations, the frequencies, the use of space, and some other limitations that make it really hard for folks to kind of produce events to the best of their abilities. These limitations that don't always align with the best practices that currently exist for event organizers and don't make it very easy to have an economically viable event when it comes to the implementation of it. There is an alternative when an event does not fit the temporary special event permitting process and the code requirements that we currently have. I do not know why that keeps doing that. I apologize, everybody. But that alternative it's fairly time consuming and requires a lot of steps. It is a conditional use permit or a special use permit, which is issued by the planning department. So when an event doesn't fit the municipal code requirements for a temporary event, you would go through this process. Unfortunately, the process tends to be costly. It is a costly alternative, and it does require that the property owner either support or participate in the process in order to secure the permit. But when a CUP or an SUP permit is secured, it does allow a lot more freedom for the use of the space. So our conversation will be focused on the temporary side of things for the most part to try and figure out how we've been trying to figure out how to help folks activate things temporarily. So when it comes to the policy update itself, the mayor's March budget message for fiscal year 24-25 acknowledged the importance of events on private property and their role in building community and supporting local businesses and artists. Oh my gosh, I am sorry, everybody. I'm not sure why that keeps deciding to just go ahead and advance. But we began our process with conducting policy analysis to develop recommendations that we wanted to move forward, and that started in early March 2024 and has continued up until recently. Our process was really focused on identifying key goals for changes to the municipal code. In that process, we did look at over 15 other cities nationwide to try and determine what best practices are for permitting events from the city's perspective. And we've been working through developing our recommendations and conducting outreach such as this and managing interagency coordination with organizations that are necessary before we can move forward with any changes that we plan. So prior to developing any recommendations, we did establish some goals that we were looking to do when it comes to updating Title 20, Part 16 of the Municipal Code. And our goals were really focused around facilitating more events on private property by lowering the barriers within the municipal code and relaxing event frequency limitations, expanding eligible event days, and providing zoning clarifications while considering events and the residential adjacencies that may exist throughout the city. So with that said, I'd like to jump into some of the changes that we are considering. And at the end of this presentation, we'll have some time for questions and answers, and we'll open it up to everybody to kind of ask. So I just appreciate if you guys hold on for a minute. But the first change that we're considering is a change to three parts of the code, and that's largely focused around the event frequency. So currently, the code, depending upon whether you're in a residentially zoned area or a commercially or industrial zoned area, there are different limitations. And the code prevents you from having more than 2 events in a 6-month period on residential properties. And then within commercial and industrial properties, you are limited to having 4 events in a 5-month period, which is essentially having approximately 15 events. But we recognize that the 5-month period and the 4 events is a weird limitation, and it doesn't really allow for folks to be as flexible when it comes to permitting the events that they desire. I'm going to go ahead and pause for a quick second, everybody, and see if I can fix my issues with my slides advancing without me trying to. Sorry about that. So anyway, hopefully that works. So our biggest change that we're looking to do is we're looking to implement a change that would allow for 26 events to take place over the entire year in the same location. So rather than 15 events broken up into 5-month periods, we will now just allow 26 over the entire year. This change is applicable to both residential and commercial zone properties as well as industrial properties. And we feel that in conducting our policy analysis, it revealed a wide range of frequency limitations used by other jurisdictions. So staff's recommendations accounts for those practices that we saw in other cities while considering feedback from local event producers. In many other cities, the limitations tend to be still more stringent. And we think that what we're proposing is a great balance between, not too many and not too much, and still keeping things temporary. Essentially, what we have done would allow you to have the equivalent of a weekly event over the entire or over half a year, or to have 2 weeks per month for the course of an entire year. So if we're thinking about an event season being somewhere around 4 months total, then you would be able to kind of have, a weekly event over the course of 4 months. And by increasing the overall frequency, we think we can provide flexibility for folks when they're planning things like local night markets or ongoing series of events. All right. The next 2 changes that we're going to consider are for the duration of events themselves. So within the code currently, events are limited to having to 3 consecutive days overall. Our proposed change is that we would increase that to 4 consecutive days. So this would allow events to take place, over a standard Thursday through Sunday weekend activation. As things have, as focuses on public spaces and activations and private property become more and more prevalent, we feel that this is a good way to help facilitate folks and desires to activate those spaces and keep things temporary overall. But just recognizing that Thursday is more and more increasingly becoming part of the weekend overall. And then in addition to that, we're also looking to adjust the hours that events can take place. So with previously within the code, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays within residential zones were limited, expanding that to Thursdays as well. But we are including some exceptions for downtown core and other areas so that events can take place longer if necessary. And OEDCA has the flexibility to work with event organizers if necessary to try and balance things. The next change that we're looking to do is one of the larger changes. So currently the code is broken into 3 sections when it comes to residential considerations. Those 3 sections give different rules for residentially zoned areas, for commercially zoned areas, or industrial zoned areas. Our proposed change here would consolidate all of those zoning considerations into one area. And within that, we'd be looking to make a few changes that would help us streamline and make things more consistent amongst the different zoning types. So one of the differences between the zoning types currently is that within residential districts, you need to be at least 50 feet away from the nearest residential dwelling unit before you can have an event. Within commercial or industrial zones, that's currently 150 feet. So that we're not going to be changing the residential zoning, but when it comes to industrial commercial zonings, we'll be making that consistent with decisions that have been made for adjacency to residential zones. So we'll be reducing that to 50 feet from residences for those 2 types of zoning properties as well. We'll also be including some exceptions overall for urban villages, neighborhood business districts, or mixed-use commercial zones. We recognize that in these areas, there's a goal within the city to densify and create more vibrant public life opportunities. And when it comes to having a more dense residential area mixed with commercial zones as well, we feel like we need to have a little more flexibility in permitting the events. The events would still have to fall under time, place, and manner, which is our ultimate way of deciding whether or not an event is appropriate for any given area. But within time, place, and manner, we are able to this will allow us to be a little more flexible and help do things. Melina, I see you unmuted, so go ahead.
No, continue, please.
That was pretty much all I had for that. If you had something to add, feel free. All right, I'm going to keep us going then. All right, and then the last proposed change that we're looking to do is the removal of the limitations regarding parking lot usage. So currently within the code, there are limitations placed on the use of parking lot that prevents organizers from displacing more than 50% of the parking lot of the parking spaces, or a maximum of 250 spaces, whichever is less. We feel like this doesn't allow us, enough flexibility in working with organizers when it comes to permitting events on private property parking lots, and especially when it comes to small parking lots that may only have a few parking spaces anyway that folks are trying to activate. And by removing this, we still have time, place, and manner as a way of deciding whether or not it is appropriate to host an event. But we have a lot more flexibility when it comes to working with organizers to maximize the use of the space as a public space, but also make sure that it still achieves the goal that it was eventually built for. And that kind of concludes the changes that we're going to be making. So now I'm going to hand it back to Melina temporarily to discuss some other policy changes and items that we have underway. And then we will open it up for questions and answers. Go ahead, Melina.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. So in addition to the ordinance update, I want to highlight a few event-related policy initiatives our team is currently working on. So just to start with, we're very cognizant of the cost of producing events in the city in general. So we're looking at our fees and charges update. So we're doing some analysis on the cost. So our objective is to lower the cost or remove the cost where possible. So for example, with our SJ Places, which is our new program, San Jose Public Life and Community Event Spaces. This program was piloted in 2024, which essentially eliminated permitting costs and facilitated the process for using our public spaces. So we're now working on refining and transitioning this program to be a permanent offering. We've seen a lot of interest and offers an opportunity for event organizers to explore event themes and types, which has been really fun to see what the community's been presenting. So our goal is to expand that more broadly and have that as an opportunity to, again, reduce the barriers of cost and facilitate the process. And then another exciting new effort that aligns with State Senate Bill 969 is our entertainment zones. So this will allow for alcoholic beverages to be sold to go and consumed within defined outdoor event spaces. So the intent is to support more seamless participation from brick and mortar businesses like restaurants, bars, and breweries who currently have an ABC license to participate in events happening right outside of their front door, right? So we've identified 7 areas for this work, including San Pedro Street, SOFA, Post Street. SOFA is South First, and then Post Street, Paseo de San Antonio, Fountain Alley, a section of Little Italy, and the new Sharks Way, which is St. John Street. So we're looking to see more activation, more engagement, again, just offering new and creative ways that event organizers can present their events and activate these spaces for our community to enjoy. And I'll just share a quick timeline, a quick note on the timeline. So we're aiming to present this ordinance on a private property events to the Airport Land Use Commission, which is a county organization, on July 23rd. And then we're presenting to the Planning Commission on August 13th. And then pending the outcomes from those commissions, we're targeting a city council presentation on September 9th. So and then there'll be another presentation to council since it's an ordinance change about 2 weeks afterwards as well. So that's kind of where we're going. There's still a lot of work that we have to do administratively with updating our processes and just making it, again, just easier and a better experience for our event organizers to continue to do what they do to celebrate our culture and our community in San Jose. So with that, again, we want to thank you for the opportunity to share the highlights. We're really excited and thrilled about the support from our community, our events community, and our stakeholders. Again, reflecting our community's deep need for culture, arts, and connection. And of course, with more activity comes new challenges around staffing and service capacity, but we're continuing to work closely with our departments, county partners, state partners to support safe and successful events for a vibrant San Jose. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions or provide more information. I don't know if there's anything in the chat right now or anyone has their hand raised.
We do have a question from Zach. Zach, I'm going to go ahead and give you the ability to talk. So feel free to unmute yourself if you want to bring up your question. And if there are any other questions, feel free to raise your hand and I will go ahead and unmute folks in the order that questions are received. Go ahead, Zach.
Awesome. I'll be honest. I have a couple questions, and they're kind of going to be all around. But I'll start with the most. I think this is an amazing program. Thank you guys so much for working really really hard on this. My main question is if we're able to host essentially 26 events or 26 event days per year, given this new program, is there additional offerings or opportunities that would come from a landlord potentially having a CUP?
So if I can just clarify really quick, Zach, this would allow you to have 26 events. And
Yeah,
that doesn't include event days. So event
gotcha.
days would be up to 4 days consecutively. So in theory, you could have 26 4-day events. So
Awesome.
we think that gives a lot of flexibility in terms of that. Aside from what that clarification point, I think to answer your question, there are still benefits that come from an SUP or a CUP, largely when it comes to more permanent infrastructure. This
Understood.
will still be really focused on temporary events, right? Taking place in private parking lots. And so if you're interested in putting in like shipping containers that also serve as like beer sales, or you're interested in more permanent infrastructure, the
Mhm.
CUP, SUP would still be the path that you would want to pursue in order to allow for those kinds of things to happen. But here we're looking to try and make sure that you have opportunities as much as possible in order to have the events themselves.
Understood. Awesome. Thank you.
Did you have any other questions?
Yes, specifically around the entertainment zones. I know that's currently being in process. Has there been any discussion around, and I know that Melina and I had spoken about this, but what this currently the liability lands on the event operator, if that's changing at all, if there's any other particular opportunities around costs being shared with the local operators at the same time?
Sorry, Zach, can you repeat the question? What is the cost?
Yeah, no. So within the new entertainment zones, I know that you were planning on having a conversation with business operators, and we were looking through the potential opportunities of cost sharing, since right now the entertainment zones would mainly, from a liability and cost standpoint, land on the event operator. Um, has there been any discussion with small businesses around potentially sharing that cost, or what would that would look like?
Oh, so with entertainment zones, we're doing another set of outreach and
Cool.
engagement. We'll be reaching out to business owners within those event zones that are designated
Mm.
and doing some outreach and getting some input from them as experts. Again, we rely on the human-centered design of like getting people to share their input on what works best for them. So yes, that is one of the topics that we're exploring, and we will be starting that outreach series, I think, in the next 2 weeks.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Awesome. Thank you, Zach. All right. Next we have Phil. He left a question in the chat, but I'm going to go ahead and give him the chance to speak up. Phil, oh, wrong button. Phil, you're now a panelist, maybe. You should be able to unmute yourself. I've accidentally made you a panelist.
Okay, I can still hide my face if that's what
Feel free.
Hi, everybody. Phil Maresca, Philco Events. My question specifically on costs, and you mentioned maybe remove or reduce fees for these, particularly series events, because I think that as you both mentioned, there's a lot of interest in markets, night markets, things that happen on a regular basis on private property. So my interest is to make that affordable. Obviously, there should be, I believe there should be a fee for your work in terms of processing applications. But once that work is done, I don't think there should be fees for multiple dates. So is that kind of the way you're looking at this?
Yeah, Phil, again, being the expert in event production that you are and the experience that you have, that is exactly where we're headed. We just have to do some additional analysis, but our goal is to make sure that that matches up because, again, you're right. Once we do our work in confirming the zoning and the coordination behind our part of the process for permitting, it's pretty much on the event organizers to do the hard work of producing the events. So we're definitely aware of removing those barriers of cost again to support, more investment in the actual event production and the event offerings. We're pretty good. I don't want to share a specific number because it hasn't been approved, but I'm feeling very positive about where we're going. And again, the goal of the Office of Cultural Affairs to be facilitative, to get out of the way and allow for really cool things to happen in our communities. Permitted and overseen, of course, for safety
Yeah.
and sure there's appropriate matches of the events within the time, place, and manner. But again, we'd rather have you guys invest in the production and offering of the event than paying for a permit. There still has to be that balance of it, though. But yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And the current fee, just so everybody knows, it's $850. Is that the current fee?
Current fee
For one
for
time?
yes, for a new event on private property is $850. If
Yeah.
it's a return event, it's 400 and is it 25? I believe 425, 450.
Yeah,
Yeah.
450, I believe.
Yeah.
So our goal is to cut that in half, if you will, take that
Okay.
information. Mm-hmm.
Cool. And just so you know, I want to reiterate that I understand that fees are important, but on the flip side is you're actually encouraging people to do this without signing up and without doing it legally, because oh well, we'll ask forgiveness later, but we're going to avoid that $850. So I think this is a good direction to be going. Those of us who prefer to do things legally appreciate the work that you do, and I'll sign off. Thanks.
Thank you, Phil. All right. Next we have Juan Carlos. Juan Carlos, give me a second here. You should be able to unmute yourself now.
Yeah, hi. I'm Juan Carlos Araujo. I'm from Empire 7 Studios. We are located here in the Japantown corridor, if you will. We're in a unique situation. For those that might not have known, we were displaced from our original location due to the development. Gracefully, the developers here were able to really embrace us and invite us to be an official retail space, which is still, the neighborhood is kind of a mixed commercial residential use. Our neighbors at J-Town Clay also are right across the street now. This kind of all has come as a surprise, just considering from 17 years of being in production. I definitely kind of had similar questions to kind of what Phil was asking, and agree with him as well that this is difficult. And in terms of the fees, I guess I'm a little confused if 850 or 450 is for each individual event, or if this is for a 1-year permit use. And then also just I'm perplexed on just how we landed on this bill and this initiative to really, in so many words, I guess, tax small businesses that are actively trying to thrive here in the city of San Jose. So yeah, I there's a lot of unknown factors here for me. So, but I've been reading all the information, but would love to learn more and continue to be engaged in this process. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Juan Carlos, appreciate your engagement and participation. Again, it's stakeholders like yourselves that really safeguard our communities and the value of our culture. I'll try to answer your questions very briefly, but I'm happy to also connect with you directly and just see how we can better support you through the efforts that you might have in mind. Just to clarify, so this is for private property outdoor spaces. So typically what you'll see is activation in like parking lots or surface lots that are paved. And it's a current ordinance. It's currently in our ordinance. And what we're doing, there was some work that we did with a couple of stakeholders to do some analysis around like the series type events, like night markets, if you will. That was a prime example. And it was very limiting to go through our process because we only had the 5 events in the 4-month period that we could permit. And so working with our colleagues in the planning department, we did some analysis and figured out how we can try to balance it where the event permit process is still temporary versus a more permanent or semi-permanent process through the planning department's special use permit or conditional use permit that are more for longer term and allows for more structural setup, if you will. So for us, through the outdoor special event process for Office of Cultural Affairs, temporary events, we were able to land on a number, for example, 26 events per year to further facilitate and make it easier, less expensive, remove some of those barriers that were challenging previously or currently in our ordinance. So if this moves forward, it'll be easier to do more events, to host more events on outdoor private property space. So hopefully that kind of generally answers that question on the outcome of or the initiative of this work and what we're trying to solve for. And then just to answer your question about the cost, currently it's $850 per event for a new event. If you're having a return event, it's $450. Our goal is to further reduce that. Like I said, I'm not comfortable sharing a number just yet because it hasn't been approved by our finance department, but really we hear you, we understand how expensive it is to produce events, and we want to further support that. So we are looking to further reduce those fees to something more reasonable that still covers, the cost for the process, but definitely reduces that burden on permit fees for the city side, at least for you guys. So again, happy to talk with you a little bit more about what questions you might have as far as how this relates to your work and activation and opportunities. But this is specifically for outdoor private property spaces like surface lots mainly.
Okay.
And if I can really fast, just a point of clarification, the current permit fee for private property is actually 825, which is not a whole lot less, but that is the current fee for the private property permit.
Am I still on here?
Yeah, you're still here, Juan.
Yeah, we're a unique situation, right? Because we're a new luxury development, and we had to get rezoning through city council, which unanimously approved. So we do have a little outdoor area as well, like a small little park that we've worked with PRNS and just getting all that, permitted as well. We have large sidewalks. So we're not necessarily a lot, but we are a unique residential space that really was designed in a way where we can continue to be Empire 7 Studios here on 7th Street, but also embrace the community and continue to give the community space. So I'm not sure if that's different from what this is specifically for, but I would love to set some time and maybe get some kind of like eyes on our space and on 7th Street. But so there's that. And then there's also no mention of Japantown on this, which I can't speak for Japantown, but we are also like just, very close to the downtown corridor. But yeah, so I don't know if we're like, this basically is designed for us.
Yeah, so like Melina said, our work here today is really focused on Title 20 of our ordinance, which is about temporary uses of private property parking lots. So the ordinance that we're updating is almost 100% focused on that. So it isn't quite, doesn't quite touch exactly what you're talking about, Juan Carlos, but I would love to hear more about, what you're looking to do and what your space looks like. And I've been there a few times, so I'm familiar with it. And I was part of the parks team when they were building the building. So I've been pretty familiar with what you're doing over there for a while. But yeah, our municipal code defines what an event is. So there's that first, right? Whether it is an event or not, and we can talk to you later about what that is. And then once it is considered an event, there are some steps that you might have to go to depending upon what you're looking to do. And we can help talk you through that offline in a separate conversation.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, if you don't mind, the email that I have listed on the questions and comments section, feel free to send us an email or send me an email. And Melina's will be first name dot last name also. So if you want to include her as well, we can find some time to chat.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. Thank you, Juan. Were there any other comments, questions about the proposed changes that we have today? I see another question from Zach. I'm going to go ahead and let you chat.
Yeah, real quick, and I'm sorry if this is already stated, but when do we assume that this might actually take live effect? Like date wise?
Yeah, the earliest would be late September.
Understood.
Excuse me. So council will approve late September, and then we have 90 days to implement like any administrative processes. So our goal is to, it's going to be pretty simple for us to just create those updates. It's basically updates our guidelines. So our goal is late September, but 60 days after it gets approved.
Okay, and when is this going for council approval?
Our target is early September.
Early September.
September 9th is our target. Again, it's going to be contingent on how it goes with each of the commissions that we're presenting to. But yes, our target is September. We'll likely send out some updates to everyone just because we're excited about this opportunity as well, and for our event producers and our community to take advantage of this.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely keep us posted. And thank you, OCA, for the constant work that you guys do. I can speak for myself that I know I deeply appreciate it.
No problem. Yeah, and as Melina was saying, we will have a page on the planning website where this is posted as a project, so you'll be able to access more information there. This recording will be posted on that page, and I'll be sure to send it out to everybody who received the invitation to this email, so you can go ahead and look forward to that coming to you at some point.
Awesome.
No problem. All right. Any other questions? I'm not seeing any other hands pop up in the chat. So I'll just give it another quick minute here in case anybody has last minute questions. No? Okay. All right, well, if there are no other questions, you guys have the contact information that's listed on the page, hopefully. You should be able to see it. Feel free to send me any questions, comments, concerns that you may have about the proposed changes. Again, the presentation itself, the recording, the presentation, and any other materials that we make available will be on the planning page. And we'll look to get that to you early next week, probably. We have to upload some documents and talk to our IT team about getting the page ready and putting that up online. So you should hear from me earliest or latest early next week with some more information about that. And if there are no any other questions now, thank you all so much for your time. We appreciate you being here to listen to us. Hopefully you guys think that these changes are good changes for everybody. We think that they're a good balance between making things easier for us as OCA to facilitate when it comes to permitting events in private property, while still keeping it what it is supposed to be, a temporary event. So with that said, I'll go ahead and close up shop for the day. Thank you, everybody.